Hello, Eastern Ace. Hello, hello, hello. It's Philip Wilkerson and Whitney Kerr back with another episode of Eastern Ace Conversations with Whit and Phil and Whit. I probably got it in backwards, but it don't matter. We're really excited. We have a star-studded. I feel like using the word star-studded cast now. This is probably our largest endeavor, this largest interview. We have over eight guests. I think I can't do quick math. But we have a lot of guests today. And so before we get into this very deep and wonderful conversation about getting involved in Eastern Ace, I'm just going to share a few announcements and some things that you should be aware of as we lead into the conference that is coming up in June 26th, right? I believe. So continuously, you can always encourage to participate in the sponsorship package. New to this year is the College Booster Program. Here's a few examples of colleges that are participating in the College Booster Program. And so that's something that you can get involved with at the conference or Eastern Ace throughout the year. Additionally, we are really, really excited to be more with our keynote speaker, Gigi Gilliard. I think that's the first time I said it correctly after all these times. I'm really proud of myself. This is I'm really excited to talk about what she's going to talk about, diversity, equity, inclusion, and just what she brings to the conference. Really excited to meet her and hear from her. Newcomers. There is a newcomer event, and I think this is a great event. One of the things me and Whitney worked on our first year working together was this newcomer event, and it was very successful virtually. And so this is a great way for those that are a little nervous about the conference, want to get to know people ahead of time, to get to know them and connect with either board members or other newcomers. And I'm gonna put that link in the chat right now for those that are watching this or watching it later as a way to participate and get to know people. Next, be a buddy. So if you're a more seasoned Eastern Ace member, newcomers, if you're coming to the conference, you can volunteer to be an Eastern Ace conference buddy. I think this is a wonderful program where you can sign up and a newcomer is attached to you via email. And so you can connect with them before the conference starts, maybe pull them aside for a cup of coffee and really help them get the full benefits of this conference. I think that's a great idea, a great way to foster relationships and mentorship. I'm also putting that link in the chat for you to sign up for that program as well. Lastly, another thing that I'm really excited about is the mentorship conversation. There's going to be a special panel about mentorship within Eastern Ace, how members have utilized the mentorship network or plan to utilize the mentorship network. And then afterwards, if interested, there is a limited space dinner for those that want to connect in a more intimate setting. And that's being organized by Diana Mendez. So I'm really excited about that. And also I put the link to that in the chat. But without further ado, Whitney, why don't we give an introduction to all our guests and then bring our first guest on?
Yes, definitely. All right. So we got a great show today for you all. We have 8 phenomenal guests joining us today. Let me see if I could get them all. All right. So Casey Hilferty, Big Steve Savitsky, Chris M. I'm just going to say Chris M. Tracy, Jenny N and Jenny F. Allie Baldwin, Ashley Forsyth. And I think I got them all.
Yeah, you got them all.
Oh, yay. Okay, cool. So we, let's see, we're starting with Casey, right?
Yes, we're going to bring Casey on first. So thank you. So first up is Casey. She's a wonderful co-chair of the technology committee. Has been a member of Eastern Ace for some time. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started. I think the overall theme is why get involved? We want to gear this conversation with all our guests from all different levels of involvement about why getting involved in Eastern Ace. So I'm just going to start off with question number 1 is, Casey, why did you get involved with Eastern Ace?
Sure. Thank you both for having me on. I'm really excited to share my journey in Eastern Ace. I got my first job in career services in 2018, and my supervisor was very supportive of me becoming more involved in the field, learning more. I am definitely a big nerd, so I enjoy learning more, and I enjoy being involved with things. And joined, a couple organizations, including Eastern ACE, but just really was drawn in by how friendly and supportive everybody was. Even when I was just a new member, like literally had no idea what I was doing pretty much. And when it came time to figure out what I really wanted to devote my time to, Eastern ACE was a pretty easy choice, just given the welcoming environment that it had, and the variety of opportunities to get involved in.
Excellent.
Awesome. So, Casey, you've been with the tech committee, right, since 2019. So what was your interest in tech?
Honestly, it was because I didn't really know a lot about it. And I'd become aware of the tech committee through the Twitter chats. Everybody there have been very nice, very supportive. It was a really great environment to share ideas, get to know other people. But I still didn't feel like I was super strong in technology. It wasn't an area that I was super familiar with. So joining the tech committee really gave me an opportunity to kind of dive in and find that opportunity to learn more, explore in a really welcoming and safe environment, and be partnered with people that were in the same boat as me, that weren't as super familiar with technology, but wanted to know more, and people that were more on the kind of cutting edge of technology. When Chris comes on later to talk, he's a tech wizard. I definitely am not a tech wizard, but I feel more confident in talking about technology in relation to career services, employer relations, now that I've been on the committee. So that was kind of my goal, was just to learn more and become more confident in that area.
I love it. And I think one last question, before we get off, is that maybe I want to dive in a little bit more about that misnomer that you need to be like a tech whiz to be in the tech committee. As I am it's weird to say, the director of technology, information, and management, and I don't work in IT. And that was that thing, just getting involved. But what would you say to that person that wants to get involved with the tech committee, but has that same, myth, about technology knowledge?
I mean, it's super common to feel that way. It is definitely putting yourself out there and volunteering for something that you might not have strong experience in. But I know I'm personally someone who really believes in learning by doing, as well as, traditional learning methods. So by joining the tech committee, I was able to learn a lot more about new and upcoming tech, and really become more comfortable with that space, and also grow in different ways. Like, my main tech experience mostly been in just social media managing and updating, those kinds of things for my office. But now I'm more familiar with a lot of things around tech ethics, which is really interesting. A lot more information about like AI, chat GPT. So those are things that you keep hearing. You're like, I really am confused. Like, I don't know what this is going to mean for the field. We are always looking for new members in the tech committee, and you don't have to know anything about it. It's really just that you need to have that curiosity and that, desire to learn more and be open to ideas and discussion. We're not asking you to program a new version of Handshake or something. We're really just kind of looking at some of these issues that are surrounding technology. And as we've seen, going through a pandemic, everything going to remote, technology is going to be everywhere. It's always going to be everywhere. It's always going to keep changing. So being on the tech committee for me has been really beneficial for, talking to others about the impact of technology and how it may change us in the future.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Casey. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great. It's been great working with you on the tech committee stuff. And as I said, I've learned a lot from you. And thank you so much for just taking your time out of your day to be on this show. And hopefully connect. Throw your, stay online, throw your LinkedIn and connect with those after the show is over. How about that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, so next up we got Steve.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Awesome to be on the show, and I'm so excited for Be More. So counting down the days, let's get into it.
Yes, Big Steve. See, I got this little sign behind me. Drink some coffee and put on some gangster rap and handle it, because it made me think of you. So, Steve, you work at Northeastern, right?
Yes.
And you wear many hats. I know that you're a co-op coordinator, right? But you teach and advise and got the employer stuff going on. But you're also in this director position, right, with Eastern EACE. So can you talk a little bit about your time management, doing all those things at work, but also having this big commitment in Eastern EACE?
Sure. So one thing I will say that's very helpful is having a work environment that values involvement in Eastern EACE and professional development and associations. So having that support from my bosses, from the team, they know what I'm doing and involved. A lot of my team is involved in another association as well. So management comes from knowing what I have to do as far as teaching classes. My teaching days are different days from when my board and committee meetings are. So being able to compartmentalize that way has been extremely helpful. And then just also knowing what my short and long-term deadlines are. I know that sounds easier said than done, but it's being able to have a sense of that. Planning is extremely important. And having fantastic chairs that I can delegate things to has been a huge help in that.
So, Steve, I love, obviously one of my favorite things about Eastern EACE is the opportunities for professional development. So the learning, the opportunities to grow within this association is really, really important. That's why your role is really important. And then I think furthermore, the importance of the aspect of mentorship. So can you speak to the importance of mentorship as a part of professional development? Why should mentorship be considered part of your professional development?
Absolutely. So being able to connect with someone who has a certain level of experience to grow. I mean, that first and foremost, that's important. You go to all the conference sessions, go to all the webinars, and shout out to my webinar committee, but you can go to all of those. But if you don't have that person in your corner or people in your corner that have your best interests and are really able to build that connection with you, there can be some personal components to it, but focus more on where you want to go. And I really appreciated the cross-identity mentorship webinar that you did. Was it earlier this year, late last year? The time's still kind of a blur, but that was fantastic. I've had mentors of all different backgrounds, but also having mentees is something that I'm slowly starting to appreciate now, because you're learning more from them and getting new insights for how you can grow yourself from them. And that it's not just the part about the rewarding aspect of seeing a mentee grow, but I think that that's extremely important and a huge component of why, we're relaunching the Mentor Network. I mean, Diana Mendez and her team have done a fantastic job at figuring out what we need to make this special, meaningful, and connect with folks. I highly encourage people to go to the mentor panel and dinner afterwards on the second night of the conference. I believe it's Tuesday, June 27th. I will be there. Many of the board will be there. And I'm excited for it.
Awesome. So, Steve, I absolutely love you. You know why I absolutely love you? Because you are Steve. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, that works.
So, can you just spoke a little bit about mentorship, and I was hoping that you didn't, put that in there a little bit, because I was going to ask you if there was something that you wanted to plug, right? Because we got a little bit more time to connect with you. But could you push that a little bit more? Because I feel like we need more people to sign up.
Sign up for the Mentor Network on the 27th. Do it. It'll be very much worth your time. It's such a fantastic way to connect with veteran members such as myself. My first conference was in Pittsburgh in 2015, and I didn't know anybody at that conference, and I was very, very grateful that two past presidents, Linda Kent Davis and Walter Tarver III, respectively, both took me under their wing. But having that intentional space to have leadership that'll take you under the wing and give you guidance to build wherever you are in your career, whether you're just starting out in first career counselor job in the career center or first recruiter on the employer side. This event is for you. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be meaningful, and it's going to be long lasting at the end of the day.
Well, I do actually want to lead into that because, we do have more time. Okay, Steve, you are an extrovert. You could talk to anyone. I think I could just plop you anywhere. Similar with me, but for some, reaching out or connecting might be a little bit more difficult. So what would you say, what are some tips that you would share for taking that first step to connect with someone like you did with Walter, or, just, being on the other end of let's gear it toward the newcomer. What would you tell the newcomer to do to get a mentor at these events and maybe this conference or this association?
Sure. So first and foremost, the world has changed quite a bit in those 8 years since with so much more virtual and all those things. But I would encourage folks to sit down, whether it's at the opening keynote, sit down at a table with people you don't know. If a delegation of a few of you are going from an institution you've never been before, don't and especially if you're going with your supervisor or director, say, hey, I'd love to just spread my wings a little bit, sit down elsewhere, chat with some folks. I think that's very beneficial. I will put a plug for going to all the social events that are offered. We have a fantastic LGBTQ and BIPOC DEI event that's going to be the opening night of the conference. I'm super excited for it, and it's right on the heels of Baltimore Pride. Regardless of your background, that's a great way to connect. It's an organic space, so attend all that. Yeah, thanks for putting the schedule into the comments. And I would say also at the newcomers event, if you resonate with somebody in the breakout sessions, just send your LinkedIn, send your email, set up an informational chat before the conference, just to talk for a little bit, get to know a few people. Do that for me as well. I'm gonna put my LinkedIn in the comments when I log off, and that's gonna make it a fun time. And we don't expect everyone to be extroverted, such as Phil and myself. That's impossible. That's not being your authentic self. But there's lots of spaces. Use the break area of the conference as well, just to have organic conversation. And lastly, what I would do is make sure you have time to yourself at the conference. You don't have to go to every session. You can go in the break area. You need to decompress and go for a walk around the harbor. I think that giving yourself your own time is going to help you build more meaningful connections too. I do that at the conference. I mean, you'll see my face a lot in Baltimore, but there'll be times where's Steve? Oh, Steve's just with himself right now. So make sure you're doing that for yourself as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. So I got one final question, and this is like really random. So what are you looking forward to the most about this wonderful conference that we're having in June?
So I would say, and for the folks that I like Baltimore, not only is this a conference that I was originally part of planning in 2020 when we were thinking we're having in person, so a full circle moment of sorts, but the fact it's a full circle moment in a lot of different ways. When I was growing up, I grew up in the DC area before there were the Nationals. Used to go to Orioles games with my dad, so I'm going in a little early to watch the game. So there's that piece. Plus, so family plus Eastern EACE family, and really welcoming new folks in a meaningful way at this conference. We just bringing all that together from kind of that way back in the past self to the current, just seeing how that all manifests itself.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. I mean, it's been great having you on. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, looking forward to connecting. And I just really, like I said, I appreciate all the things you're doing, and definitely bringing people out of their shell and just being a really good connector and friend. And so thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Excited to see you all in a month.
So next up, I think we got Chris. I don't know if he's ready. Maybe give him a break. I see he has his camera. He's online, but I want to give him a few moments. Maybe fill some space. And if he's not, so let's see. Chris, are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think there's something blocking your camera. I don't know if you're.
Yeah, my camera doesn't want to go on for some reason.
All right, so then we're gonna have the talking head, Chris.
Go ahead.
And the voice. Just imagine a very dashing man that looked like Lex Luger. You know what I'm saying? From Superman, and that's a compliment because I think Lex Luger looks pretty cool. Technology. You're the co-chair. We had Casey on earlier. Maybe we'll start off with that. The way where she left off is, what would you say to someone that wants to get involved in anything related to technology but has an apprehension to do so?
Yeah, that's a great question, Phil. And first of all, thank you, Phil and Whit, for having us all on for the invitation today. So I've been with the technology committee most of the time. I've been with Eastern EACE, and number one thing, just bring curiosity to it. It's not a committee that's looking for experts. We're looking for people that want to know, that are looking at this and going, how can I learn about this? How can I engage with this with my peers, with my colleagues, on behalf of my peers and my colleagues, the membership of Eastern EACE, and all of the students that we work with. Just as simple as that.
Excellent.
Awesome. So, hi, Chris. Since you've been on the committee for so long, what has been your biggest accomplishment in the tech space?
Oh, I think the biggest accomplishment is just trying to keep pace with how rapid things have been changing, and trying to keep the committee with its eyes on the prize, that we are there to serve the membership, and trying to figure out how do we create and deliver content that's going to keep everyone up to speed. And this past academic year has really reinforced how vital that is now, because we just had a lot of stuff change. We've seen higher ed itself impacted by the generative AI technologies hitting. Most of our schools, most of our administrations are reeling from this, because we came off of COVID, or we came out of the lockdowns from COVID, struggling from that. And then we got this on our laps, and people are feeling tired. They're feeling worn out. They're feeling overwhelmed. So yeah, we don't all need to be doing all the things, but we need a few of us in every different sector saying, hey, we've got you. Here's what you need to know. We're going to take it. We're going to condense it down. We're going to give you the deliverables. So as a group, as a larger organization, as a community, we can move forward and not all feel like we're in this by ourselves and getting overwhelmed by the flood.
I love that. I actually think that's great. I think, technology is integral to everything, and it's ever changing. And one of my friends told me yesterday that was like, the pace of technology is changing, right? It was like 30 years in the internet. And then, he said something about the internet took a while, but then this change, like social media, didn't take a while to catch on. And then now it's like even faster catching on, right? It's like the time window of technology is the way it adapts changes more rapidly than ever. One thing I have is, then what are some normal ways that you stay abreast to technology, or tinker with it? Do you read any magazines or listen to any podcast, or just ways that you stay plugged in that realm?
Yeah, excellent question. That's actually evolved over the 20-some years that I've been doing this. Used to be subscriptions to Wired magazine and following, first generation tech bloggers. The last few years, especially with stuff moving a lot more rapidly and the need to discover people in other spaces like tech ethicists and stuff who are not part of our everyday operational spheres, it's been Twitter, and a little bit on Mastodon now. And then using them as jumping off points to identify new sources, new blogs, Substacks, and all of that, and then getting involved that way, and then just reading, and then finding the tools and then tinkering around with things. Also, this past January is my first time attending CSTM. I mean, we're Eastern ACE right now. We're talking that, so I'm not going to plug CSTM, but there was some great stuff that came out of that I hadn't heard about that our office is looking to play around with too. And just finding that community that's willing to collaborate and just have the conversations and to say, hey, cool stuff. It was back in like 2007 or 2007. I had two colleagues from British Columbia that we presented at NACE. And while we were producing that workshop, this thing called Twitter came out. And one of them heard about it, signed up and said, hey, we're doing a session on technology. Have you seen this? So that's why my Twitter account is from year one of Twitter, because of that. So it's that community that, hey, have you heard about this kind of interaction and engagement, that it works. At least that's how it's worked for me.
Well, thank you, Chris. I think that's a great idea. And, obviously working with you in the tech committee has been a great opportunity to do that. You let me tinker a lot, with technology. And so for those that are going to the conference, similar to Chris's story, if you see me, Chris, or Casey, or anyone, come up to us. I play around on my phone all the time. I try new things. I bring my laptop. So like, I think we could still use that mindset of tinkering in public with, that's tinkering with technology in public and figuring out as we go along, not saying we're experts, but that's how we learn. You learn by doing. So.
Yeah. And since nobody can see me right now at Eastern ACE in Baltimore, look for the vest.
There it is. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris. So next up we have Tracy, a wonderful Tracy. So we're so happy to have you. We're going to bring you up.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Tracy. Oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't seen your face in forever.
I know. Love you.
Love you.
It's so great to be here.
And it's great to have you. Like I'm like truly excited. So me, you, and Phil, we're on D&I, right? We're on the D&I committee.
Yes.
And you're currently D&I co-chair. Yeah. So
Yes.
Basic question, very basic. What does D&I mean to you? And to spice it up so that it's not too basic, what's its significance in your life and in Eastern ACE?
I think, let me start with it for Eastern ACE. I think for Eastern ACE, when they implemented this and it became the inaugural committee and team, I think that was a game changer, because it was us really looking at what was NACE doing and how do we need to continue to make sure that we are aligned with the national standards that we're talking about, even just as a chapter, as a local area. So it was a game changer. That is what I can definitely say. And I think being in that career services space, we tend to think of DE&I as things as it relates to just marginalized populations. But as those marginalized populations continue to grow, we need to really be looking at how we are helping our students make that connection with employers and in the employment sector. And then really being able to, those that are on that employer side, really being able to talk to our employers and really being able to say, where do you really line up? I say this time and time again, I'm not about the checkbox. I don't want to go do D&I and say, oh, we did that. Check. Intentional and strategic.
I love it. I don't know, man. You dropped so much mics. I lost my next question, to be honest with you. Like, that was really a good. Dang, I was like, dang, she's dropping bars. So, obviously, I think, like, building inclusive spaces is really important. I will confer that what Whitney's, being a part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion has been one of the most inclusive spaces for me, and actually is one of the things I look forward to. Being able to be in a group with you and Ruben and Tibby and just so many people I can name, because it was just the opportunity to we talk about things as it relates to the association, but it was just also just a way to catch up and really be yourself. So can you talk about the importance of creating inclusive spaces, whether through Eastern ACE or other organizations, to make you feel better and do better?
It's important to have a place where you can come and be your authentic self. There's no real judgment, and you can just really say what's on your heart, what's on your mind, but at the same time, really be able to be in a safe space to ask a question in something that you might not really understand. I mean, we've sat in those meetings and we've pulled up some topics and we didn't all always agree, but we knew it was going to be a safe space, that we could bring that information, we could discuss, and we could see the diversity of our points of views, because we don't all experience the same thing the same way as everybody else. And being on that team really just is a way to be able to do that. And that's what we need to be able to have, that space for ourselves, so that we can go back to our offices and create that kind of environment as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I got another question, of course. So what are you looking forward to in this upcoming year with D&I? I know we have a new D&I director. So what are you looking forward to? What are we hoping that we can get done?
I am looking forward to seeing what new, innovative, creative, strategic, and intentional ideas that the new chair is going to come in with. I'm looking to see the committee, the team. I'm looking for it to go to the next level. And I'm looking to see that be continuously emulated throughout everything that we do. So that is what I'm looking for when I think about the DE&I committee. That is what I'm looking forward to watching it grow and watching it continue to flourish. I've been on it for since its inauguration for 4 years, so in some deep capacity. So I'm looking forward to seeing that next level.
Well, I love it. I love meeting you. I love actually meeting you in person in Atlantic City. I love when I meet person in real life, and they're just as kind, sweet, and wonderful in person as they are online. I am a lot shorter in person. I'm sorry I disappoint everyone, but I think, Tracy, I can't wait to see you again. And thank you so much for all your work to, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee here at Eastern ACE. And thank you so much for spending your time on the show today.
And that's okay, Phil, because they actually think I'm like 5'7" or something, and I got 5'2" issues, and I'm glad about it.
I know, it's because big personalities come with big presence.
Exactly.
And we're shorter. We're shorter than we are. So that's what happen. That's what happens when you're an ace. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have.
Hey, what can we say?
Yes. Well, thank you. So next up, we have. I lost my schedule. We have Jenny Nysak. She's gonna correct me as soon as you get on here. I'm so sorry. I work on it. I've learned it multiple times. I'm just nervous.
You got it. Nessenjak. You got it.
Blame my head, not my heart. You know what I'm saying? So
I know, but we're gonna work on it, Phil.
Yes, we are. Maybe later today. Go ahead, Whitney. Ask the first question of our wonderful guest.
I'm sorry, I'm over here dying. I apologize.
Whitney, I love you. This is one of the I love you.
I miss working together
as
co-chair.
I know. I miss you.
You did a good job. All right. So Jenny, you are currently the co-chair for the conference programming committee, right? And then last year you was doing conference experience. That's a jump.
It is
So
a jump.
what made you interested in programming for this year?
So I wanted something that was a little bit more of a challenge. Doing conference experience with you, which was all the social, was super fun. I loved it. Love event planning. Wanted something a little bit more challenging, and boy, did I get it.
Okay, that's a good segue.
It's a
before you
good
got it.
thing. It's a good challenge. But while we're talking about the programming committee, I have to shout out Ellen and Sonia, who are my co-chairs. They are amazing. Those of you who are going to the conference, I can't wait for you to meet them. I can't wait to meet you. And we have some great sessions planned for you all.
So as you did this, right, we always think about how involvement in this association usually is transferable to your normal day-to-day work. So how about, for this new challenging, had a little bit of a pause, but then what was some of the things you learned through the programming commitment that you think has translated and really been used at your normal 9 to 5?
So I think, so Allie, you make me laugh. So I think the biggest thing I learned is that from this committee and from working with Whitney is that you can't do everything alone, that you need support from the people on your team to make your project successful. It's not a solo mission. It's a team effort, and you really can't do it alone. And I think that I've tried really hard to apply that not only here at William Patterson with the great team that I work with here, but also in committees in my personal life that I participate in.
Awesome. So clearly we're like big on mentorship here, right? So you don't necessarily have to drop names, but
I'm going to drop names because I went through the list of questions and I am prepared for this. And I was hoping you were going to ask me because I need to shout out some amazing, fabulous people, both Eastern ACE and non-Eastern ACE.
I knew that you was going to drop names anyway, but I had to give the disclaimer. You don't have to, but I know you will. So who would you say is like your mentors in Eastern ACE and in life too?
In Eastern ACE, Tibby, like first and foremost, one of the most amazing people I have ever worked with. My newfound over the last few years passion for all things DE&I has come from Tibby and her support and mentorship in that space, and also mentorship in how to kind of juggle being a mom and being passionate about things and working full time. She's amazing. Tibby, I don't know if you're on this, but she's just fantastic. And if you haven't met her yet, please look for her at the conference and just say hi. I can't wait to hug her again in person in just like a month or so. Also, Mary Alice Barrows, who is not only an Eastern ACE member, but she is my amazing, fantastic boss here at William Patterson. Her guidance is unbelievable. And I would not have grown as the professional that I am in the last few years without her. And then outside of Eastern ACE, I have to shout out my dad because he's fantastic just as a professional and a volunteer. And I love my mom too. She's great influence. She's great mom, great guidance. But my dad really, I am definitely my father's child when it comes to being involved in things.
So I would love, this is our last question. I would love to hear, because you are getting involved and you share with us how you've taken this not to your work, but also the community. So please, your last question is, how have you taken these things and this passion and used it in the community that around you?
So here at William Patterson, I've taken my work with DE&I from Eastern ACE, and we're actually doing a lot of strategizing and planning and examining our DE&I practices. We're going to be doing a session on it at the conference on Tuesday, the 27th at 11. Come check that out. Really super excited about it. That's myself, Mary Alice Barrows, and the director for the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, Yolani Ganell, here at William Patterson. And also, I was recently invited to sit on the D&I team at my synagogue and to do some work in that space. And right now we are currently planning our Pride celebration for the second weekend in June. And I'm really excited about that.
Well, Jenny, it's been great getting to know you, working with you. I think we've been connected through Eastern EACE for about 3 years now, right? Like
since the start. Phil, you chaired the first committee that I sat on, and that's where I met Whitney.
There it is. So obviously you can say you're welcome, because I'm just playing for being about. But that was a great space, and also that helped me grow as a leader, having wonderful teammates like you, helping me and learn and be more strategic. So I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to see you at the conference.
I'm excited to see you guys too. I can't wait. Just a few more weeks.
All right. Well, we got our next guest. Wow, we're really ripping and running. We have so many guests, Whitney. I mean, we're holding on to it, but we have Ms. Jennifer Foray, and she's gonna correct me too. Watch, I think she's already looked like she's about to correct me. But she's already coming. She had an exhausted day. She got commencement, but she still took time to join us today. So thank you so much, Jennifer.
You butchered my last name.
I did. I'm just gonna go with it.
It's Friary.
Friary. See.
Yes.
Now, see, me and Whit had it. She had it right, but I just say, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and shoot my shot. And I already had you on my on it earlier, but like I said, I'm gonna just say this all the time: blame my head, not my heart. You know what I'm saying? So, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you for being here today. But go ahead.
No, happy to be here.
Yes. Okay, Friary. I have to put it in my mind. I have to keep saying it. So I know you were on the show not too long ago. And if y'all haven't seen it, check it out. I know it's on the Facebook page. I think it's on the YouTube page. But yeah. Anyway, so I know you answered this question before, but I'm going to ask it again for those that do not feel like going to watch the actual episode. What got you into the grants and scholarships space?
Oh, geez. At first I was thinking, I hope I answer this the same way as I answered last time. Well, I was previously on the awards and recognition committee, and I knew that I was moving from one university to another that was not an Eastern EACE member. So I submitted for the scholarship in last year. And I received the scholarship, so I was able to go to the conference. And so that's why I joined the committee. And now we are Eastern EACE supporters. That's
excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. And then one thing I think about, I remember you were transitioning to a new role. And you said that, as you became a new director, you looked forward to seeing how other people were directors in their office. So now that you're settling into this new role, have you been able to use Eastern EACE to tap in and ask questions of other directors or career centers and really help you with your transition to your new role?
I will say the last year has been a whirlwind, but a good whirlwind. I in general, I've been a member with Eastern EACE at least 10 years, but I just think I've learned so much that has gotten me to this point in my career. And I know there's been times I think Phil and we chatted about something, and I know I could reach out to anyone at any point with a quick question and someone's going to respond back to me, on best practices or what are you doing in this committee. So in general, it's a great group of people, and it's a great support system for people as they grow in their profession.
Awesome. So last question. This is going to be really simple. Do you have any plug that you want to make? Any type of shout outs? What do you want to say?
So I would say definitely come to the mentor dinner. I signed up for this, so I'm excited to see everyone again. And I would say just get involved. Even if you join a committee, it's not that much time. It's a great group of people, and it's always learning, and you're hearing from other people what they're doing, best practices. And it's nice to have a support system when you're having a crazy day and you come to the committee meeting and people are like, I get it. I understand. You just had commencement. We know what that day is like. Just take a moment. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Yes, I will be at the mentorship dinner, and I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to connecting with all my Eastern EACE friends. such as yourself, and it's going to be a great conference.
It's going to be a great conference. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, get some rest. I know you got a busy day ahead today, right?
Have a good afternoon, everyone.
All right, you too. All right. So next up, we're actually joined by our future boss, the leader, fearless leader, president-elect. Well, I don't know. We'll switch over. Allie. Well, she back on. That was me. I was so excited I hit the button twice. Allie, welcome.
Thank you. So excited to be here. I've been, on the Bob and Phil show a few times, but never with Phil and Whit. So this is new and exciting for me.
Yes. You are star-studded. I think you're one of our most, returners. We got three times a charm, and you've shared so much wisdom. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask the question, right? Like your journey, you've started, I don't know when you started, but all the way to this, right? Like you went, does it sink in that you, from the newcomer that you were to now being a president-elect, has it sunk in, or does it feel weird or any of that?
I love the question. I feel like it's really appropriate because almost every time someone says, oh, like, are you excited about your president term starting soon? And all of that, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's like really happening. Oh my gosh. I think it's definitely surreal, but very, very cool to know that an organization that has done so much for me personally and professionally is, something that I can give back and be able to, sort of pay it forward to the next generation of folks. So surreal, but very, very cool.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So I got a basic question. I always got the basic questions. I don't even know why. So what advice would you give to someone who is interested in becoming president of our phenomenally awesome organization?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Ooh, that's not basic.
I'm trying to think. I feel like pretty much I would say that when I first started to think about my future progression within Eastern EACE, I started to just have a lot of conversations, and I'd go to people and I'd say things like, hey, you know what? Like, I know this is kind of a crazy idea, but if I wanted to go in the direction of like maybe one day being president of Eastern EACE, like if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Or like, maybe like, who would you talk to? And so I've just had so many different conversations with the incredible leaders across the organization over the years that I think through a combination of that and just continuing to be involved and trying to challenge myself, it eventually comes down to whether you like it or not, someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you know what? I know you were interested a while ago, but have you thought about this year? Like, could this year be the time for you? Because I think as long as you're, laying the groundwork, a lot of times it comes down to just, is this the right time for you to pursue this? And if so, great, let's do it. And the folks around you won't let you fail is something that I kind of hold on to all the time. When I'm not feeling like, if I'm having a not very confident day, I think to myself, you know what, I'm surrounded by an incredible group of board members and they're not going to let me fail ultimately.
I love that. One of the things I've always learned about as I study leadership is like knowing that there's no one size fit all to leaders, right? Like we can do all kinds of different leadership assessments. And I know what kind I am. I'm very vocal and outgoing and loud. And there's other strategic leaders and people that are more analytical. So can you talk about one, what do you believe is your leadership style? And then two, reaching out to complementary people. Like for me, I know that on my team, because I'm probably not as strategic, I definitely need people to be did you think about this? Did you think about that on my team? That helps me, and I've learned to embrace complementary relationships. So can you talk about your leadership style and the kind of people that you reach out to kind of help you on your team?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the leadership lessons that I've learned over the years have really come a lot from like, I see something happening and I'm kind of like, ooh, man, like, I'm not sure if that's really how I would have liked to respond if I was the leader in charge of that. And so I think over time, I've realized that like two of my priorities when it comes to being a leader are to be transparent and to be accountable. So no matter what's happening, if I screw something up, it's bound to happen eventually. It happens. But if I have something that I want to own up to, like I really try hard to own up to it and have a conversation with people and say, hey, you know what? I know that, this went wrong. I'm really sorry about that. And like address sort of the impact, but then, go back to the drawing board, bring us all together and sort of make sure that we're going forward and everybody knows where they stand. Because I think uncertainty is terrible. It makes people really nervous. It's not a good feeling. So, I think I try to stick to the accountability and just transparency whenever possible. I forget the second part of the question.
Yeah, the second part, and like that, like you love transparent. I mean, you're transparent. I love that. So like when, for me, like I'll be totally, like I said, be transparent, but like, I know like one of my greatest colleagues at work, Dorothy Hayden, I always credit her for being complimentary to me. And that's why she was one of my closest friends at work, because she knew that I was outgoing. She knew that I would talk to anyone and all that, but also I could always ask her questions, and she was very strategic, and she helped me. Like I would say I was the mouth and she was the brain. So I knew that I liked having her around because she complimented me. So what's maybe something like that, an example for you, like a complimentary relationship or complimentary colleague or something?
Yeah, actually, I'm so glad you brought up Dorothy, because I was on a committee with her a long time ago, and it was just so much fun. But so I think when I think about, for whatever reason, I think the person who comes to mind when you're bringing this up is Amy, our incoming president-elect. So Amy, she was one of the first people, I think, within Eastern ACE who really, got me excited and making me feel like, you know what, this is something I could get involved. I could be involved in the leadership role. And I think as much as we have a lot of the same mindsets and ways of approaching things, so we really work well together, she also just has that extra level of flair and fun and outgoing conversation that doesn't come as naturally to me. So I think it can be really effective when we're like balancing each other out with that. I'm super introverted. I also am usually drawn to introverted people because I just, get them. But I also really love being around Amy and other extroverted folks, because I think it brings me out of my shell. It makes me almost like a little bit of a braver version of myself. So it's important to know like your strengths, but also, what are the parts of you that are just as awesome, but just need someone to kind of draw them out a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. And, I think, like I say, I name dropped Dorothy because I think that's transferred from just being a colleague to like really one of my closest friends. And like I said, I love the fact that you said it brings out bravery, a braver version of yourself. But in actuality, even as an extrovert, she's made me a braver version of myself because I think I'm more organized. Or so, I love this discussion of how people view themselves, right? Introverts, extroverts, or skills and whatever. It's like you always feel like that person that's complimentary to you empowers you just that different ways. So, shout out to the introverts. I don't know how you do it. I cannot be around myself too long because I go stir crazy. Well, Allie, this has been great. I'm looking forward. One, I'm looking forward to just seeing you at the conference, and two, because I don't think we've met. I think we've always crossed paths. We had not met physically yet. So there's going to be one for the. I am just as loud as I am on this Zoom or StreamYard. So be ready. Maybe wear earmuffs. But I'm really excited, and I'm really excited for your leadership. And I'm just, I look at you as an example. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And just a forewarning, I also am much shorter in person. So
here it is. Man,
don't worry about
it. Below 5'5". You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
That's right. All right. Thank you.
All right. So last but not least, and thank you, she's waited patiently, but we have the good doctor, Dr. Ashley. And I'm tired of mispronouncing people's last names. So I'm just going to say Dr. Ashley.
Forsyth?
Yeah, you got it, Whit. Thanks.
But she worked with you. That's
it's so good to see you, friends.
There it is. Well, it's been great, and so just to get you started, tell us what committee you're involved in for those that don't know, and then follow up with why should, just the generic question, why should you get involved in Eastern ACE?
Perfect questions. So thinking about my involvement, right now, I am the director of membership and retention. So I join in on the membership committee meetings, which is fantastic. Prior to this role, I've had a lot of different involvement with lots of committees out there. So I've had the ability to work with many of you, which is wonderful. So I was involved with the Professional Connections Committee way back when in 2011, I believe. And then while I was focusing on my PhD, I had to step away a little bit because, school took over. And then shortly after, being done the degree, I was able to work on the tech committee and also the Grants and Scholarships Committee. And from that involvement on the Grants and Scholarships Committee, I was also a committee co-chair. So lots of involvement in many, many, many different ways. So I think, in terms of the second question, why to get involved? For me, at first, it was a great way to get to know people. It was a great way to push my skills in a lot of different ways, similar to what other people have said so far. And I think, as I've looked at roles that I might be interested in, because like I said, Eastern ACE is where I've spent a lot of my volunteering time. I think that it's been something that I've decided to focus my energy on to try to, one, help the organization, two, make new friends and contacts, right? And then three, also challenge my skills in a different kind of way. So I always look for a little bit of challenge in each of the roles that I'm looking to do. And Eastern ACE is just a fun organization. I'm sure many have shared before I even hopped on that it's just my professional home, so to speak, right? So when you walk into a room, just like I popped on here, like, hey, friends, how are you, right? The more you get involved, the more you get to know people, and the more that personability kind of comes naturally as you start to engage more and more.
Awesome. So, hi, Doxa. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. See, I have like a bunch of questions, mainly because I miss Drexel, but I have a bunch of questions, right? But I want to really put emphasis on this doctor, right? Because it's goals, like. The PhD is the goal for Phil, and my goal is EDD. So we're trying to join that doctor club with you, right? So can you share with me and Phil and everyone else that's currently either pursuing a doctorate or interested in pursuing one, like any tips or advice on how to balance everything that we're doing? So like work, I know you took a break from like Eastern ACE and stuff like that to focus on the doctor, but like any tips on how we can balance everything that we're doing with our educational pursuit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I am so glad that both of you are on that journey too. Yay. And happy to answer any questions, cheer you along as you're doing it, because I know it's not easy. I think the biggest thing for me as I think about that journey is, I had to ask myself what was going to be the priority and when. So when I was laying out my academic coursework, trying to figure out how many credits I could take at a given point in time, if it was a heavy work term, because I worked full time while I did my program part time, I knew I would have to scale back a little bit in that given term. And I think for somebody who's looking to do a doctoral program, whatever that happens to look like, it tends to be something where we put that internal pressure of like, let's get done quickly. But I had to kind of check myself to say, is that doable? And can I make these things work? So if I had to take one less class in a fall semester because, we have career fairs and all the things that we know and love of career services, then that was okay. And then I would either tack that on somewhere else, or I would just delay my original expected graduation. I naively thought that a dissertation would be much easier because I wasn't physically going to class. I knew it would be hard in terms of research, but it took me an extra year longer than I had anticipated. And I think it's just giving yourself that grace to say, I'm here, I'm doing it. And not only am I doing it, but I'm working and doing it if that's what you choose, like I did. And I think also kind of saying to yourself, it was a really hard decision for me to have to pull back from EACE for a little while, right? Eastern ACE has been that home base for me, and I was still able to go to conference, which I very much appreciate. but I wasn't able to have that involvement like I really enjoy. But I knew that I would go back to that once I was able to have that bandwidth again. So I think it's just having that honest conversation with yourself to say, what do I need professionally? Is a doctoral degree even something that I feel like I'm going to need? Because I always advocate for, as many of us probably do as we're counseling students, but if it's your goals, perfect, go ahead and do it. But it is not for the sake of doing it. It's a whole lot of work, right? And I think if you're committed and you're interested in doing it, then absolutely do it. I encourage, and will support you along the way. But if you're kind of on the fence and it's not necessarily fitting into your professional goals, I wouldn't just do it to complete it, right? So having those balances and those conversations of yourself to say, what do I need? Where am I going to go? And how do I fit it all in? Is obviously going to be a little bit more case specific, but I think giving yourself that grace is the biggest take-home message that I can give. And then also asking for support from your support team, whether that's at work or in your classes or in your home spaces, to help you to pick up the slack somewhere. I know that for me, my house was always the thing that I was like, oh my gosh, I wish it was, I have to clean it today because I never have time, right? But I was able to squirrel away a little bit of money and get somebody to come in and clean my house. So I didn't have that pressure to do that. Now I know that that's not something everybody can do, but as you think about those things, try to think creatively about how you can make it all work. And that support system that you have might be able to kind of pick up some of the pieces that you might not be able to balance all on your own.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think, our last question, because I want to make sure that you share all your wonderful knowledge, is what is one thing you're looking forward to at the conference? And maybe that might be a great way to land the episode, because then you can plug the conference and then you can close us out just say there's been a great episode altogether. So I'll let you finish this out and Ashley, share what you're looking forward to.
Oh, thank you. It's been great. Thank you both for having me for the conference. Super, super excited just to see all the people. I love you all and I miss you all. And it'll be great to spend 2.5 full days with you, right? So I think that that's the biggest thing. And one of my kind of bucket list items professionally has been to present at a conference. And this year I have the opportunity to do that. So if you are interested, Monday at 5:00, I will be presenting my dissertation. So would love to see you kind of intersecting both of the questions that I had. And that is about post-graduation outcomes. So I think that that's very, very relevant for many of us. And I want to kind of have a conversation and try to see how we can help each other, because we're just going to keep being asked for more and more information about it, right? I'm also going to be doing a speed learning session about grants and scholarships for my prior work there. And my lovely co-chair, Fatim, is not able to join us, but she'll be contributing to that work there too. So little plugs for those sessions, of course, but can't wait to see you all. Can't wait to sing and dance to the piano duets, dueling pianos. And thank you both for having me. I cannot wait to see you at Eastern EACE and give you both big hugs.
I love it, man. That was actually a good way to land the plane. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you so much, Casey, Tracy, Jennifer Squared, Steve, Allie. I mean, everyone, everyone for joining us today. This has been a great episode. Please, these comments, please still engage with this Eastern EACE conversation later. This, it's obviously still online, and we'd love to see you. And Whitney, do you have any last things to say before I finish the broadcast?
If you haven't register, please, for the conference. Woo!
Thank you so much, y'all.